Welcome to Bridging the Gap, the Madison County Chamber of Commerce podcast, where Madison County's stories and businesses connect. I'm Sarah Pugh, the Executive Director of the Madison County Chamber of Commerce. Each episode spotlights the people, businesses, and nonprofits that make our community thrive while sharing the stories behind what they do. We're looking forward to learning more about their story and their connection to Madison County. All right, today I am joined with Kayla Reynolds with the Madison County Fairboard. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
All right. So for those who may not know you, can you tell us about who you are and your role with the fairgrounds?
Sure. So Kayla Reynolds, I'm from Earlham, and I've been on the board now for, I think I'm starting my 14th fair. So nice. I've got quite a bit of history with the fair. We are an 11-person board. So I'm one of the 11, and currently I serve as the treasurer, which I've been doing for the last few years.
Okay. So how did you first get involved 14 years ago?
Well, so Jerry Parkins and I are friends, and so we met up for lunch one day, and I told him about my history as my family of growing up with 4-H and, a fair board kind of past with my father. And he's like, oh, you should be on the Madison County Fairboard. And I said, I've always wanted to be, but I don't know if the time's right. Well, turns out it ended up being that year. So I joined, was elected that year, and have been part of it ever since.
Yeah, that's so awesome. So with the Madison County Fair, what makes that unique and special?
I think just in general, like fairs are special. Like they are such a unique experience. When I was growing up as a kid, like I think we took 3 family vacations my entire childhood, but we always went to the fair. And most years we tried to go to the state fair if we could afford it. So the fair was the vacation. And I think that is the case for a lot of people who participate in the fair. I think fairs are unique because they honor heritage. You walk down the main drag, what we like to call, or the main concourse of the fair, and you'll see, younger kids sitting with their parents, sitting with their grandparents, telling stories, like honoring the farm culture that we have here in Madison County. I think they're also unique because it's a place where community comes together. There's something for everybody at the fair. It's not just for 4-H members or FFA members to do livestock. There's also things for the community to have entertainment or get involved themselves. I think to me, the biggest thing of why fairs are unique or special is because I truly believe we're building citizens of tomorrow. So if you've got a kid who's, working their tail off and they're, getting an animal ready or getting a project ready, like that work ethic that you have to put into that is awesome. So I think it's a place where they get to go have fun, but yet they also get to show off their accomplishments and do it around the community, do it around their parents, do it around volunteers, and they see how adults are giving to the fair, and they then grow up and want to do the same thing. So I think it's just one tool in a parent's toolbox of let's be a part of the 4-H FFA and the fair, and you're helping to raise a better kid. Yeah,
and a lot of those projects don't just happen the week before the fair, right?
Well, a lot of times you're working your tail off the week before the fair, but no, like projects, if it's a static project, for example, let's say you're refinishing a table, that's months in the workings. If you've got, a livestock, right? A lot of those animals are born in the fall or the spring, and you're working with them the entire, time getting ready for the fair. So, I know a lot of these kids who have livestock at home, they're putting in 4 to 6 to 8 hours a day in the barn, just preparing those animals so that when they get to the fair, they're going to showcase that animal in its best possible way.
So they're really working on their work ethic.
They're absolutely working on the work ethic. And then if you think about this, like my son will say, like when he was littler, he would say, fair is like better than Christmas, right? If you think about that, fair is better than Christmas. Sure. How? It's like, okay, this kid has to work. He's basically working, 12 hours a day at the fair. He's taking care of animals, and he goes in the ring. He may get beat. He may win. You have emotions of high and low of successes. But yet it's still better than Christmas. Like, I think that just shows like how kids really thrive in that environment.
Yeah, very cool. So the fair is just right around the corner. So what can visitors expect for this year?
Yeah, so I think you're going to find all of our normal fair favorites, right? We've got night shows every night. We've got all of our food vendors back. We've got all of the normal competitions, whether they're an open class or a open class competition or a 4-H and FFA event. So yeah, I think we've got a lot of the same stuff that we've always had, and we're super excited to get going with it.
Awesome. Are there any new events or attractions that you're bringing? Yeah,
there's a couple things maybe we could touch on. The big new thing that we're trying this year, and this came because we're going to have a beer garden. The beer garden is going to be available just during night shows. We've talked about a beer garden for years, and there's pros and cons to doing a beer garden. But we've had a lot of the community members want a beer garden. And so we decided, let's try it. So we're doing a 1-year trial. It'll only be, you won't be able to bring in any of your own alcohol, which we haven't allowed that in the past, even though we know it sometimes has happened. But basically, you'll just be able to consume the beer or seltzers in that night show. Okay. And then we'll make sure none comes in and none goes out. So we're trying that. And basically, we think it can be a fundraiser for us. I mean, we think we'll make some money on it, which is obviously important for any nonprofit. And frankly, it was probably our single largest opportunity to make additional money out of everything that we've brainstormed. So we decided we're going to try it for 1 year and see if it's a success. If it's not, we won't do it again.
Yeah, nice. What are some can't miss events for first-time fairgoers?
So some can't miss events. So I think if you've never gone to the fair, I think you should obviously go to our website, look at our schedule. But I think taking in a livestock show of some sort and watching those kids and what they do to prepare and their presence in the ring it would be a very unique experience. Obviously, you got to walk through the barns and see all the animals. We've got great night shows. We've got a truck pull on Wednesday, rodeo Thursday, Friday, and then mud races on Saturday and Sunday. So any of those events are fun, depending upon if you're more into a rodeo or into trucks and tractors and that type of thing. And then I think you've got to go get find your favorite fair food, right? Food's very important. So, personally, I make sure every year that I get a steak sandwich from the cattlemen, I get a rib sandwich from the pork producers, and I get breakfast at the Republicans.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I've never had breakfast at the fair, so I'm going to have to try that this year.
You're going to have to try that.
But I know my family, we hit up the walking tacos with the 4-H group.
Absolutely.
It's kind of embarrassing how many we might consume during the fair, but It's one of our favorites.
Yes. And we do have some other for-profit vendors, but all of those that we just mentioned, they're nonprofit vendors. But we've also got some for-profit vendors. I think we have a dirty soda person coming in this year. We've got coffee with beans and beignets out of Earlham. So there's plenty of options for food, and you're not going to go hungry.
Yeah. So do you personally have favorite fair traditions that you do?
Well, I mean, on the board, I feel like all I do is run around and execute things. Yeah. But I would say, kind of those foods obviously are important. I love any show. I try and make all the shows. I think a tradition that we started just a few years ago is we do a supreme showmanship competition.
Okay.
So basically it's the winner, whoever was the master showman out of beef, dairy, sheep, goats, swine, and horses. They compete on Sunday morning in a master showmanship class. And so, a supreme showmanship class. And so they have to show every one of those species. So they may be one beef, but then they got to show all the other species. So you determine who's the best of the best out of them having to show a species they've never shown before. What's cool about that is these kids who never shown a dairy cattle, all of a sudden they're walking in the dairy barn and asking them, hey, how do I how do I show this? Or how do I show a hog? You know, what are you supposed to do? Because there's absolutely art and skill to showing those animals. So I think that's a really fun one. I love the premium auction. So the premium auction is for any kid who shows a market animal, they get to sell their premium. And so, you know, the community comes in and supports, and typically the community will give back approximately $110,000 to $120,000 to those exhibitors. So it's a way for kids to, you know, help pay for these projects and hopefully make a little money.
Very cool. The fair is so much more than, you know, rides and foods and all that. And a lot of the things you've been talking about are heavily supported by 4-H and FFA. Can you go into more about what they do for the fair? Yeah.
If, you know, I think sometimes people get confused of the role between 4-H, FFA, and the fair and who does what. Obviously, 4-H is ran by the Madison County Extension, which then underneath that, you've got 4-H clubs. Those 4-H clubs are all, I don't know, I should know how many we have in Madison County, but anyway, there's a lot. There's a lot of good participation. Those are all ran by leaders who are volunteer leaders. So, you know, they have monthly meetings, they're doing community service events, you know, they're actively engaging with those kids. I know our club, for example, has over 100 members, you know, so it's a lot of, you know, youth that are involved in 4-H. FFA, obviously there's if you're an FFA, you can also show under FFA. You know, and those advisors are on grounds all the time and helping. And then I think another kind of avenue to talk through is you have another volunteer areas that are superintendents. Okay. So each show or each activity has a superintendent that's in charge. And those, again, are volunteers. So you have somebody who's volunteered to be in charge of all the static exhibits, somebody who's volunteered to be in charge of beef, or even open things. So open class things, like we have a fitting contest. We've got a superintendent who's in charge of that. So it just takes a whole bunch of people. The fair side is, if you think about what the role of the fair is, we partner with 4-H and FFA. And our job is the grounds. It's bringing in entertainment. It's, you know, obviously maintenance, upkeep of the grounds, using the facilities appropriate, keeping those facilities up to date, and then working with 4-H and FFA to execute all the different activities at the fair.
So you are providing them the outlet to show their products.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay. Yep. Very cool. So is it common for someone to dual and be in 4-H and FFA?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's you can show in both. You could, if you've got and I think that's very common. Kids still want to be involved with all the things that 4-H does, but maybe that for whatever reason they would rather show under FFA. So, yeah, you see kids who show up at the fair and they may show a rabbit in 4-H and they may show a steer in FFA. Okay. Sometimes that depends upon the reason they do that, is maybe if they want to show at the state fair. At the state fair, you've got a separate 4-H show and a separate FFA show. So timing, or for whatever reason, they would rather show one at the state fair in FFA versus 4-H. So that's kind of, but at the county fair, you show those two together in the same show. Okay. So that's why, usually that's the reason why somebody chooses FFA over 4-H or vice versa.
Yeah. Do you see a lot of them setting their goal to show at state fair, or?
Yeah, we have a ton of Madison County kids who participate at the state fair. So yeah, a lot. You don't have to win. There's a misconception that you have to win at the county fair in order to show at the state fair. That's not accurate. You just have to sign up. Yeah. And you can show at the state fair. So anybody can participate in that. And that's, you know, getting to experience showing at the state fair. It's such a bigger, you know, level, and so many more animals. And it's a really great experience, you know, to be able to do that.
The Shopper, the Madisonian, and the Exchange, your locally owned weekly publications from Madco Media Group in Winterset. The Shopper arrives free in mailboxes across Madison County, the Madisonian keeps you connected in print and online, and the Exchange is Iowa's largest marketplace publication. Plus, promote your business or events on our 10 digital billboards across Winterset. From design and copy to office services, we can do your light work. Madco Media Group, see what we can do for you. Located just off the square in Winterset. Locally owned, trusted, and connected. Call 515-462-1534 or email ads@madcomedia.com, because local is where the heart is. On the local level with the County Fair Board, do you guys have any say or participation on the state level of the fair, or not really?
Not really. They host all the, if you're on a fair board, you can go to an event at the state fair on the first Friday night, which is like a meal, and you get, some of the new fair foods and, a Rice Krispie bar or whatever they're pushing. But other than that, no, we interact with the state fair at some of the, like the convention. There's a fair convention every year, and that's where we go and find like our free entertainment vendors, our carnivals, those types of things. But there's also training for fair board members, and state fair is heavily involved in helping to execute some of those trainings. So there's definitely, you work with them, but that's kind of the relationship.
Yeah, nice. So the 4-H and the FFA youth, there's a lot of skills that you've touched on that they gain from participating in this. Do you see that those skills and things that they're acquiring through participating in the fair, launching them into adulthood and preparing them for the future? Like, is that kind of the purpose behind some of this?
Oh, for sure. I think one of the things that I see with youth who are involved with 4-H, FFA, the fair, is they have the ability to communicate verbally. And I think that's a little bit lost on some of our youth today. But these kids can talk, right? They can hold a conversation with an adult. They can look them in the eye, right? If you're taking something to the fair, it's a family event, right? You're working with your parents. You're working with maybe a mentor. And I'm not worried about any of these kids that are working on a project and coming to the fair and showcasing their stuff. They're having to be around adults and hold conversations and put in the work. They're going to go out and be good people. Yeah. I just think it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. We've seen it with, lots of individuals. Yeah, it's kind of an underlying confidence that you don't really see in a lot of kids right now. Yeah, you don't realize that I remember when I was a kid, our club, my parents were 4-H leaders, so that's, I was kind of forced into it, but I wanted to be in it, right? And you had to do a presentation every year at a club meeting, and I was so scared to do it. I was nervous. I was a very shy young girl. And anyway, so I forced me to do it. I remember I showed how to bake chocolate chip cookies in our kitchen, right? Because at that point, people would come to your house and do these things. And, it was terrifying. But through the years, you get better, right? You get the experience, you gain the confidence. And you see that with kids all over the place when they start as young individuals at the fair and, running around. And then you see them as an older person, and you're just amazed at like their growth and their maturity. And it's really special to see. Yeah, very cool. So a lot of fair spectators see the finished event. So tell me more about what goes on behind the scenes, getting it all organized. Yeah, there's so much that goes on. So we have monthly meetings. We start planning the next year's fair literally weeks after the fair is done. I believe right? It. Right. And so, we're throughout the fair, we're creating an improvements list that it's a piece of paper, that's a big piece of paper that's in the fair office. And every day we write down like, oh, we need to do this better, or that better, that better. and then of course we meet with our volunteers, we meet with 4-H leaders, we meet with superintendents, and try and figure that out. But there's unexpected things that come up, and you're also worried about buildings and, what do we need to fix? And, just things like this bench now has a broken leg, we got to get that fixed. So there's just so many little details to the fair that you got to keep track of. We had one that just literally a week, maybe 10 days ago, our carnival that we had booked, who we had last year, and we were on a trial run last year with him. It's super hard to find a carnival. Like that is crazy hard, but people want a carnival. We found somebody last year. He was great. He basically said, okay, you passed my test. I want to come here next year and I'm going to bring more rides. So, okay, great. Signed the contract. He called us 10 days ago, said, unfortunately, I can't find people, X, Y, and Z reasons. I'm ceasing my operations. I'm not going to be in business. So we're like, oh, now what do we do? Yeah. Right? So a couple people went into fast and furious mode, and I think we've got a pretty good plan. We're gonna have some inflatables for the younger kids. We've got a game called Knocker Ball, which is people get inside big filled up balloons. I don't that's probably not what they are, but they roll around and knock each other. We have that coming in one day that we hope to be good. We got axe throwing come in, and we're still working on maybe a few other things, but we're going to need some volunteers to help man those places. We've changed our hours that we're going to be open, but it's going to be very affordable for the community. And then we still have our normal free entertainment. So we've got a magic guy coming in this year, which we think will be exciting. We've never had him before, so that's kind of a new thing too. Yeah. So those are the carnival thing kind of threw us in a loop, and we were struggling. But we're trying to do our best, and then we'll have to regroup after this and see what we do next year. Yeah. So then how far out do you book like your evening events? Do you book those like right after? Yeah, our evening events are, we basically, we know we want to have a rodeo. Like that's a guaranteed. Mud races are kind of a community favorite. So we know we want to have mud races. And then that Wednesday night is one of those nights where we've had a truck pulls before. We've done a demo derby, I think, one time. So that's kind of a night that we, could we do something else? So we start thinking about that, right away. All of our free entertainment, when we bring like the magician that we have this year, we book them usually in the fall for the next year. And our carnival, if we like the carnival, we try and book them as like when they come in to settle up on Sunday night, we're trying to book them for the next year. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, nice. So you kind of briefly touched on some volunteers. It takes a lot of volunteers to pull off this week event. So roughly how many? Are you still needing more? Yeah, we still need more volunteers. So if I think about what the volunteer jobs in the past have been, we need people to sell tickets for night shows. We have ticket takers at the entrance. Of the night shows. We have people who pick up trash. We want to do a better job of keeping the fairgrounds clean. I know your group has helped with that. And if it's a nonprofit, like we're gonna give you some money, right? We're not asking you to do this for free. So that's something that we're trying to do better this year. The other thing that we really want to do, and we don't have it all completely figured out yet, but we know that we have a parking issue sometimes. So we want to have, just like at the state fair where you've got golf carts running around that'll haul people up to where they want to go, we're going to ask some organizations to maybe help us with that, and then they keep the tips. Nice. So that's something new that we're doing this year that we're going to be looking for. I think we'll have a Sign Up Genius kind of go out with descriptions of what volunteer things there are, and people can sign up for it. Yeah, well, very nice. So that Sign Up Genius, it'll be linked on your website. It'll be linked. I think it'll be on our website or on our socials. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so sure. If you are interested in wanting to volunteer at the fair,
check out their socials.
Yes.
So what are some challenges? You mentioned the carnival canceling recently. Are there other challenges that the Fair Board faces that people may not think about?
Yeah, I think, running the fair it's like running a business, so we think of our fair as we have the fair time and then we have our non-fair time. So our non-fair time, we've got buildings that we rent out, we've got the grounds to maintain. You're paying the electric bill, you're paying the water bill. It's you've got all those things. You're taking in. We've got a great guy, Dan Bush, who handles all of our rentals. All that takes time. We've got a rental house, so it's a pretty complex kind of business, I would say. And then you've got our fair time where it's all about executing, paying all the bills. It costs, I believe it costs between $125,000 to $135,000 just to put on the fair. So we've got to raise that money in order to put on a fair, to pay everybody ahead of time, to get things done. So, I would just say it's good to have people on the board who understand business. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to make enough money that we can continue to do better every single year and bring in better things that are going to grow the fair. Right. And make improvements on your grounds, right? Yes. Because is that coming in the future? That's coming, yes. So we started a capital campaign. We have a drawing. We hired a group that specifically comes in, looks at fairgrounds, and we'll put together a building plan for you. So we have those drawings, and we had our first fundraising event in February. Currently, we're in the process of kind of getting a first draft together of what those buildings will cost, but we're going to start doing some infrastructure work under the grounds after the fair this year. So essentially the vision is, if you think of the main concourse that runs down the fair, all the buildings on the west hand side down through the swine barn. Yep. So North Show Ring through Swine Barn, those will all be removed, and we'll put up two 100-foot wide by 300-foot long buildings. So essentially we're going to have 100-foot by 600 feet of all under roof. And we were to the point where every year we were struggling with having enough pen space. So we didn't have enough room for all the people that wanted, or they were just crammed in there. And so we had a need. We had a need where we're fortunate enough that we've got great community involvement, that more kids want to participate, but yet we don't have the space. And so we either have to fix up the buildings we have, or we got to do something different. And so we analyzed that and decided new buildings are what is needed. So these new buildings will offer not only our ability to grow in the future, which I think there's so much value in a fair that there's no reason why we couldn't double the amount of youth that's participating. Right. I think that would be fantastic. So we want to be able to have the ability to handle growth and deal with the growth the issue that we currently have. And then, so in that, we'll get a couple new restrooms. We're going to get basically all under roof, new pen space and show rings. Very nice. So we'll start after this year doing some infrastructure work. We're going to hit it hard on our capital campaign because it's going to cost a lot of money. But we hope to start on the first building after the 27 fair. Yes. And everyone can see those plans at the fairs this year? Yeah, we actually had them at the fair last year. We'll have them at the fair this year, and we will for sure be focusing on kind of where we're at and what the growth or the amount of money we need. Nice. So how can community members support the fair and these future projects? Yeah, so I'd say, obviously we already talked about all the volunteer things, so that would be wonderful if there's a group out there or people out there that would love to get involved. I don't think you're going to regret it. It's gonna fill your bucket by helping out at the fair and seeing everything that's involved. I'd also say, we run a partnership program every year. We're very fortunate. We have over 100 businesses or families that donate to that partnership program where there's different levels that you can participate. And then depending upon that level, you get advertising or tickets to events. So we'd always take more people in the partnership program because like I said, it takes a lot of money to put on a fair. So I think those are the two big things. And then obviously as we roll out into this capital campaign, any support that we can get on putting up new buildings that really is going to be the fair of the future, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Yes. And then, of course, people just showing up to participate in all the events, right?
Yes. Yeah. So there's so many, there's a lot of opportunities, whether you're in 4-H and FFA or whether you're not. Mm-hmm. So last year, I wrote this down just so I could say it. So I'm glad you brought that up. Last year, we had over almost 5,200 4-H and FFA projects.
Oh, wow.
So, most kids are bringing more than one, right? So you can divide that by whatever number you think is the average. But for open class, there's lots of open class opportunities. We had over almost 1,600 open class exhibits. So there's one of the most popular ones is the Family and Consumer Science and Horticulture. So if you make a quilt, you can bring it in and it can be judged, or you gotta, you like gardening, bring that in and have it judged. So that's neat. But there's also like open bottle calf show. There's an open goat show for if you're thinking about showing one of these in the future, you can do it here. There's a pet show that you can be a part of. I'm looking at my list here because there's just so many. We do livestock judging. You can participate in that. So look at the website, but it's all out there under ways to compete and the information on how to do it.
Do you ever track how many people attend your fair?
We try. So we have, we like to say 10,000. Mm-hmm. 10,000 is the number that we report to the state every year. We know how many people attend our night shows because those are ticketed events. Yep. We have a free gate. We're fortunate enough to not charge people to get into our fair. Some fairs do. But years ago, a number of people came together and said, we want to cover that through a donation. And so we always have kind of we highlight who our free gate people are that give towards making sure that we don't have to, charge for people to come to our fair. So I think that's a benefit. We think 10,000 is about the number, but that's probably a little shy. I'm guessing it's more than that.
Very cool. Just to wrap it up here, why do you think investing in the county fair is so important for our future?
Yeah, I know I've talked on that quite a bit, but I really do think, like I said, I think we're raising citizens of tomorrow. I think it's a place where the community can come together, whether you just come in for, your dollar hamburger from the cattleman's, every day from 11 to 1, I believe it is. I get one of those every day too, and meet with people around you. I think the world, we've maybe lost a little bit about this community spirit. Yeah. Well, you walk on a fairgrounds and you feel community spirit. And, I think it's great for people to see that, feel that, be a part of that. I don't know if there's many other events, right, that have that as much. I know you do a lot of things that create that type of community spirit, but that's kind of the business we're in. So we want to be a place for anybody in the community to be involved, and enjoy it. We want to entertain. I think, it's great for kids. It's great for families to be able to work together, to have a goal together. Mm-hmm. You're teaching kids about, how to set a goal and go for it. And you may achieve it, you may not, but you're going to learn from it no matter what. And then I also think there's a heritage factor. Yes. In that, our fair, this is our 78th year as the Madison County Fair. I think there was a fair called something else before that. We've got some historical information, but we say it's our 78th. fair. So, if in Madison County, you'll see generations that have been participating in this fair. I'm from Winnebago County, so I'm an implant here into Madison County, but it's awesome to see the generations of little kids to grandparents and those who have already passed that have participated in the fair, and it's people like that keep it going and keep it alive and kind of keep the traditions going.
Yeah. Kind of take us back to our roots a little bit too.
For sure.
Wonderful.
For sure.
Well, thank you so much for being here
thanks
today.
Thanks for having me.
And you have a website and you're on social media?
Yes. Our website is www.madisoncountyfair.net. If you do .com, you're going to get a fair in Nebraska, I believe. So it's .net.
Yep.
And on there you can find our email if you want to email us about volunteering. Watch our socials. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and that's where you can kind of keep up to date on what's happening.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here, and be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for listening to Bridging the Gap, the Madison County Chamber of Commerce podcast, where Madison County's stories and businesses connect. We hope today's conversation gave you a deeper look at the people and passion behind our local community. To learn more about today's guest, visit their website, and for more chamber events, membership, or resources, visit www.madisoncounty.com. Be sure to subscribe, share, and join us next time as we continue bridging the gap across Madison County.